Let's talk about yeast infection. There have been a lot of misconception about yeast infection. Some people mistake yeast infection for bacterial infection and vice versa. So today we will deal with what yeast infection is particularly. If this is your first time of coming across my video, you are highly welcome. Please endeavor to subscribe to my channel and click on the notification bell to get notified each time I make a new post. A vaginal yeast infection is a type of a fungal infection. Vaginal yeast infection is caused by a fungus known as Candida albicans. Please note that there are yeast cells in every woman's vagina. Every woman has yeast cells in her vagina, but some factors can trigger the overgrowth of yeast and then result to infection. This is mostly done by altering the vaginal natural pH. Once the natural pH of vagina is altered, yeast overgrow. Another name for vaginal yeast infection is vulvovaginal candidiasis, or you can call it vaginal candidiasis. Vaginal yeast infection is a type of vaginitis, a condition where the vagina is swollen, painful, and infected. Like I said earlier, Candida is not a problem. It is found in every woman's vagina. Other good bacteria help to keep the growth of Candida under control. Certain factors can cause a fight between the good and the bad bacteria. When the bad bacteria overpowers the good bacteria, it results to yeast infection. What are the factors that gives rise to the overgrowth of yeast infection? 1. Using excessive antibiotics. If you overuse antibiotics, it kills the good bacteria and gives rise to the bad ones to overgrow. And when this is done, it alters the pH of the vagina and gives rise to yeast infection. 2. Weakened immune system. Our immune system stands as a defense against foreign substance that invades the body. When your immune system is low, it will not be able to fight against any of these infections. And when it can't fight, infections can easily penetrate. 3. Intake of excessive sugar. It may interest you to know that yeast feeds from sugar. As they feed from sugar, they are growing. Just as you need food to live, yeast use sugar to live. So there is a certain amount of sugar that the yeast will feed on and cause them to overgrow, then cause an infection. 4. Douching. Always douching can alter the natural pH of your vagina. And when you introduce them into your vagina, the bad bacteria will now alter the pH. 5. Wearing of tight-fitted clothes underneath. It is very essential that you allow air to penetrate your vagina sometimes. Some of you even wear pants to sleep, and I wonder why. Yeast easily grow in a hot environment. So when there is no free penetration of air, it makes it to grow. So please, let the vagina breathe. Don't suffocate her. You all have that responsibility. Now, let me bring to your notice that yeast infection is not a sexually transmitted infection. In other words, you cannot get yeast infection via sex. I know that sometimes you will feel that it's after I finish having sex that I started experiencing symptoms. I'll tell you why. This is because during sexual intercourse, your partner might have introduced foreign substances. In other words, your partner might have introduced bacteria into the vagina. And when this introduction of bacteria is made, it alters the pH of your vagina. Sometimes you may indulge in foreplay like fingering. Bacteria may be resting on the fingers. Then it can get introduced into the vagina and cause yeast to grow. Another one is not having a good wash before having sex. The outer skin has bacteria resting on them. So it is very important that before you indulge into any sexual activity, you make sure you are properly washed to avoid the introduction of bacteria. Some of the symptoms of vaginal yeast infection are 1. Burning sensation in the vagina and the vulva. The vulva is the outer layer of your vagina. 2. Itching in the vaginal area and the vulva. 3. A thick white cheesy discharge. 4. Redness and swelling of the vagina and the vulva. Sometimes this can be derived from excessive itching. 5. A burning sensation while urinating. 6. Vaginal rashes. 7. having watery discharge coming out from your vagina. When the watery discharge is not slimy like that of an ovulation or that of an egg-like consistency, know that it is a yeast infection. And lastly, vaginal pain. Please note that the symptoms of yeast infection can be similar to some STI, which is why it is very important that you run a test when you experience any of these symptoms so that you will know what you're treating. If you have any of these symptoms, please run to the laboratory and run the test that is called high vaginal swab, or you can call it HVS-MCS. How to prevent the overgrowth of vaginal yeast infection. These are simply done by not doing what causes the overgrowth of the yeast infection, which are reduce the intake of antibiotics. Your intake of antibiotics should be strictly on prescription. 2. Boost your immune system. You can take some multivitamins, they can help in that regard. 3. Reduce the intake of sugar. 4. Stop dodging. 5. Stop wearing tight-fitted clothes. The vagina needs to breathe. Please take the treatment of vaginal yeast infection seriously, because it can have a way of making you not to get pregnant. Yeast infection may directly not cause infertility, but for the fact that it alters the pH of the vagina, it can affect the sperm cells, and when this is done, it may not find its way to the uterus to fertilize an egg. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.